are opened up to last night's homework, which was page 39 and 40, and we are going to correct. So we had number 4, 5, 11, 12, and 20. So for number 4, we were asked to round each decimal to the nearest whole number. So we talked about yesterday how when we're rounding to the nearest whole number, we're really rounding to the nearest ones place because that's the first place to the left of the decimal. So we would have underlined our 0, looked next door. Next door we have a 9. So that 9 is 5 or greater, so we would add 1 to that 0, which would make it 1. Everything before would stay the same, so the 3 would stay the same. Everything after 0 is their name. They become zeros. So if you wrote 31.00, that would work. Or if you just wrote 31, that would also work. For number 5, same thing. We're rounding to the nearest whole number. So we look at our ones place. We have a 1 there. We look next door. There's a 0. Now 0 is less than 5. So our 1 would stay the same, and everything after it would become 0. So you could have written this as 1. Or if you wrote it as 1.000, that would also work. Ready to rock? How do we feel about number 4 and 5, 5th grade? First, how do we feel about it? 1 through 5. Show me. 4 and 5. How do we feel? Did me explaining it up here help a little bit too if you made a silly mistake? Okay. Mackenzie, do you have a question?
Can you move the thing over so I can see number 10?
I will. So, then we had number 11. So for number 11, we're rounding each number to the place of the underlined digit. So whichever digit was underlined, that's where you were rounding it to. So number 11, the 10th place is underlined. So then we would look next door at the 3. The 3 is less than 5. So that 1 stays the same. Everything before also stays the same. So we keep the 6. Then everything after to the right would become 0. So 6.1 or 6.10 would work. Then we had number 12. So for number 12, we have the ones place underlined. So we would look next door at the 9. Now that 9 is 5 or greater. So that would tell us to add 1 to the 3, which would make it 4. Everything before to the left would stay the same. So that 1 and the 8 would stay the same. Everything after or to the right would become 0. So 184 or 184.00. How did we feel about these first 4 problems, 5th grade? Show me on your hand, 1 through 5. How did you feel about these first 4 problems? How did we feel? Is there anyone who noticed a silly mistake on their homework? Yeah? Okay, hands down. Then we had number 20. So let's look over at number 20. So I know some people got a little tripped up with number 20. So I'm going to read through the question and then we're going to look at it. So number 20 said, the students in Mr. Bhatia's class measured the length of 4 bees. The students round the lengths to the nearest tenth. Whose bee has a length that rounds to 5/10 of an inch? How about 8/10 of an inch? So if we look at the lengths of the bees, guys, are they already rounded to the nearest tenth? No, because the nearest tenth is directly to the right of the decimal point. So your first step should have been to round each of these numbers to the nearest tenth. You're supposed to do that first. So Isabel's would have rounded to 8/10. Pablo's would have rounded to 5/10. Wendy's would have rounded to 6/10. And Brett's would have rounded to 7/10. So the length that rounds to 5/10 of an inch would have been Pablo's. So his bee rounds to 5/10 of an inch. And then the bee that rounds to 8/10 of an inch would have been Isabel's. Yes, Addie. Yes, 5/10 of an inch. Yep. Layla. Yep. So Pablo's B rounds to 5/10 of an inch and Isabel's B rounds to 8/10 of an inch. Yes. Does that make more sense to those of you who weren't quite understanding it? That you had to round the numbers first, then you were able to answer the question? A little bit more? Okay. Okay. I know that this one was a little trickier because you figured they had already rounded it, but you just want to look at those numbers and think, that doesn't make sense. They aren't rounded to the 10th place yet. Mackenzie. Yeah, did you work on those? Yeah. Yeah, and you guys, if you ever do problems just because you want more practice, let me know when we're correcting and we can look at them too. You're welcome. All right. Here's what we're going to do. First, I want everyone staying in your seats, but take a little stretch break in your seats. Maybe, stretch out your neck, roll your shoulders, stretch your arms a little bit. Maybe move your feet around in your shoes. Awesome. So, that's the end of our homework video, and we now are going to take out our math notebook. Open up to the next clean page, please. Go ahead and do that.